Hello, and I'm Ren Wise. I'm here to talk about whataboutism. Now, these views are based on research, other people's life experience, my own life experience, observation of humans, and these are strictly my viewpoints and opinions. So, let's get started. Grab your coffee, water, tea, and I hope you enjoy this commentary that I've thought of. And I'm reading from no notes at all. Sometimes things just come to the top of my head and I just, you know, come out with it. Whataboutism. Now, I'm going to start this off by asking the question. Have you ever been talking to someone about something? Let's say they did something that you didn't favor too much and you called them on it and you let them know how you felt about it. And then they resort to whataboutism. Well, what about the time when you did this? Or what about the time that you did that? And you're not talking about that in particular. You're talking about what they just did that you expressed and how you felt about it. Sorry, I'm chewing gum. Well, why do people resort to whataboutism? Why is that? Why do people like to go there? I can think of a couple of reasons. One is to deflect, and the other is to avoid accountability. Because I look at it like this. If it's something that I did to you in the past or whatever, or something that's been irritating you, then why do you wait until you get to a time when I'm expressing how I feel to bring that up? So, whatever about what I might have done, was it that bad or important? Or are you trying to win an argument? And a lot of times people do resort to whataboutism to win an argument. Not only deflect and avoid accountability, but also to win an argument. And those are the people I often find very tough to deal with because if you are not forthright with how you felt over a certain length of time, whether it be a short period of time or a long period of time, when you're coming to me or you're resorting to whataboutism, what about when you did this? Or how about your brother? He does the same thing, or whatever, however you want to go, whether you're attacking me or you're attacking my family. I feel like that the conversation that you and I are in, as far as when I bring up something that I may have felt uncomfortable by what you may have done, I feel like that when you do that, you really don't want to build that relationship. A person that does that is not trying to build a relationship. What they're trying to do is they're trying to have control with and have all of it without accountability. So if I've done something to you a long time ago or some time ago or whatever, then you should have brought that to me right up front. So you're not being honest with that person if you are not letting them know how you felt about something, especially if it affects your friendship, relationship, or whatever. So when you go there, then that person's wondering, really? So I'm trying to gather my thought here. You're not building a relationship, you're actually destroying it because that person is not going to feel like that they can actually build a relationship with you. Whataboutism, when it is used to avoid accountability, then that person wants to have their way. And it's their way or the highway. Because then they're not trying to go back and say, oh, well, I apologize for this or I apologize for that or whatever. They are stuck on how they look at it. They are stuck on what they want to do. And they're, in essence, telling you that I'm not going to change. This is the reason why I hate whataboutism. And the main reason why I hate whataboutism is because I feel like that if you have to bring up something from the past, then you haven't been honest with me thus far. Granted, though, there are some things we can overlook. So if somebody does something that may irritate me and I choose to overlook it, I'm not going to decide not to overlook it when they bring up something that I do. Because choosing to overlook something is more like a forgiveness almost within yourself. It's almost like you're forgiving that person as time goes on. You're not holding it against them. So if you're overlooking it without bottling it up inside, just to unleash it when they decide to call you on something, then you have forgiven them before they eat without an apology from them. They don't have to apologize. And there are a lot of things that I can overlook. One thing that I do not overlook is betrayal. I never overlook that. But little personality flaws, we can move on. But now, if they express something that I've done that had caused them any discomfort, I'm not going to bring it up because I chose to overlook it 2 months ago when it came up. So there are a lot of things I can overlook. There are a lot of things, nobody owes me a debt for anything. And as I stated, betrayal is one thing that I cannot overlook. Here's the thing about how I handle that. They never get the chance ever again to do it. I will not hand you a second knife to stab me in my back with. So betrayal could be stuff like they were talking about you behind your back, or they betrayed you in other ways. They turned you in. Okay. They betrayed a confidence, something you may have told them, and next thing you know, your business is out there. There are different types of betrayals, but there's one that tends to be more common, and that is when someone betrays your trust in a way where they, talk about your business or put something out there that's confidential or whatever. With that, they would not get a second chance. That's just it. So it's not that I'm overlooking it. It's not that I don't realize that this happened, because betrayal is a very dangerous move. But with everything else, I can move on. If I give someone something, I don't need them to pay me back for it. It's a gift. And I consider overlooking things that they may do that may be little irritating things as a gift. No, we don't have to address it. No, let's just move on. You don't have to apologize in that way. Now, there may be some things that I may feel I need to address that may not be betrayal. Okay. Like if somebody's making fun of me out in public to other people, and I don't do that to them. Now, I have a friend, me and her, we go at it a lot. Oh, do we ever go at it? She knows who she is. And she and we can get down with the best of them when it comes to what we call back in the day, joning. And sometimes other people are around. But we have the type of rapport where we can do that to each other. And it's harmless. We were in the store one day and we were getting ready to go to some kind of jazz fest. And the jazz fest was outside. So she wanted to stop at Home Depot to get some bug spray. So she's got getting more than one brand of bug spray. And I'm standing there looking at her like, what is this? And I said to her, you need all that bug spray. She said, yeah, I do. Oh, they be eating me up, these mosquitoes. And she looked at me and said, mosquitoes don't attack you? And I said, they just don't. She said, I know why. That's because when they bite you, they spit it out. They go, ah, nasty. Now, here's the thing. Did I care? No, because I knew I was going to get her later. So it didn't matter. And there was a woman in the aisle that we didn't know that heard it, and she was trying to hold in her laugh, but she couldn't. And I looked at the woman, it's cool. You can go ahead and laugh. You can go ahead and laugh. Because, see, what was crazy is that an hour later, I got her anyway. But we had that kind of rapport. So even though she was clowning me in public, I knew that I was going to get my turn because we've been doing this for 40 years since we were like 19 and 20 or, you know, so it's all good. It's all good. You got that one. You got that one, but remember that I got some of my own, okay? You got to bring it to get it. Okay. So that's what it was with me and her. But if we don't have that kind of rapport and I have not shown you that we on that level and I don't do that to you, then I would hope that you wouldn't clown me in front of other people or talk about me in an embarrassing way in front of other people. That's one of the things that I would address right up front. But other little things, I I don't really care to address it because I don't want to expend negative energy building a positive relationship. So if I say to myself, I'm going to let that one go, I'm letting it go. They may not ever know that they did it because we're so flawed, all of us, that throughout the day, we're going to do things that we shouldn't do, say things that we shouldn't say, speak out of turn when we shouldn't, and all of that. And all of these things are just little things that are incidental to imperfect people. So I can let it go, but never to bring it up ever again. And some things people may not even know that I might have been irritated by it. Because a lot of times I can look at myself and say, well, I'm sure I did something that might have irritated them more than once, more than twice, and more than 3 times. So why am I going to harp on a little thing that they just did? But that's not to say that if there's something that bothers you to the point where you really don't like it, that you shouldn't address it. But you should be able to address it without that individual resorting to whataboutism. That's one of the things that irritates me more than anything is that whole whataboutism and people just wanting to win the argument and win the day. And these are really narcissistic traits when people do that. That really is a narcissistic trait, especially if they do that a lot to people. Not just one time or a couple of times. I'm talking about if that's their go-to every time someone calls them on some mess and that's their go-to, that is a narcissistic trait. One of the things we have to be careful with regarding narcissism is it becomes pathological. And that's where narcissism gets dangerous because that's the last stop to becoming pathological. Here, let me take a sip of water. And when people resort to whataboutism, and I touched on this earlier, to avoid accountability. Well, you did the same thing. Well, if I did it, then why didn't you tell me? And on top of that, two wrongs don't make a right now, does it? That brings me to the point where people who resort to whataboutism may do things because they were irritated by something you did, and that could be their way of getting back at you. Because when they go and they throw that, well, you did the same thing. Well, is this revenge? What a vindictive route to go by because somebody did that to you. And why didn't you tell them if it bothered you instead of being so passive aggressive about it to go and do the same thing? So if I step on your foot and it was an accident, or I step over you and I do something I don't realize I did. So you're going to sit there and simmer and boil until you boiling over, and then you stick it to that person, and then they call you on it, and then, oh, well, you did the same thing. So this is what this is about. So you went down Vindictive Avenue to get me? These are the types of people that you don't want to find yourself around. Now, I've talked about envy and jealousy. I've talked about pick me women, because really men are not usually pick me's. So when we say pick me, we are. I've talked about certain aspects of relationships that could really wear us down. And this is one of them. This is one of them. So I'm going to tie this in to being able to just move on when something goes down. Now, the first thing we have to do when we decide to move on is to be resolute in that decision. Like I stated before, if someone betrays me, it's time for me to move on. So that means that I have to, if I can't cut them off completely, I have to scale all the way back. And I'm one of those people, and I'm not saying this as a boast, but I'm a person that if you either get 100% of me or nothing, it is hard for me to even make believe or pretend 50%. That is very hard for someone like me. I'm either all in or I'm all out. And there's another name for that. It's called loyalty. See, I can't pretend to be in. So let's say it's a person that I cannot completely cut off. Well, I will look at it this way, that the relationship we once had will no longer be. And we would say things to each other only out of necessity. Now, this person could be like a coworker or something. Only interact, sorry, I was going to say react. Interact with them upon necessity. And that's it. We cannot get personal. We cannot be intimate. I cannot sit down and break bread with you. I cannot sit down and have a drink with you, even though I don't drink. But if I did, I can't sit down and have tea with you or whatever. We are no longer there. Because one thing that I am owed to myself is to protect myself, and so are you. Do not let anybody tell you that you should not erect a steel wall when it comes to nonsense, or when it comes to things that are dangerous or danger to you. You lock your door every night, don't you? You lock your car door, don't you? You draw your shades, don't you? You set your alarms, don't you? Well, then why shouldn't we set alarms and lock down things that are harmful when it comes to our emotional and mental welfare? Why shouldn't we do that? We absolutely should. So when a person whom I've decided to move on from tries to come to me and sneak around and see, my alarm goes off. Back door open. Front door unlocked. Oh, time to lock down. Time to set that alarm. Because I, just by them trying to do that, an alarm goes off automatically. And don't ever think that people don't realize what they've done, especially if you know that they've done it deliberately. Betrayal is a deliberate act. It is not a passive act. It is not something that, when somebody does something, or they may have looked at you and didn't realize they rolled their eyes. They might have been thinking about something else. Certain things are passive acts. Certain things are deliberate acts. Betrayal is not a passive act. And the reason why I'm speaking on betrayal is because that's one of the things, and you'll hear me say this several times, maybe in different audios that I do. The reason I'm speaking of that is because that's like the one thing that will get me to leave you alone, is when I cannot trust you. That is the one thing that I can't think of anything else. I mean, there are people that have borrowed stuff from me, like DVDs and stuff, that I still talk to, and maybe don't even remember they got something that belonged to me. There are people that I might have done stuff for, or they've done stuff for me, and but that is just, a breach of trust is something that I cannot emphasize more. So you know that you have done it because it is not a passive act. You were methodical and calculating in going about your way of breaching the trust or betrayal. So I know that you did, that you know that you did it. So you can't come and act like you didn't do it. My alarm bells go off, and the reason why that alarm goes off where that back door is unlocked or open is because I'm looking at this person now as saying, I can't believe that you're acting like you didn't do what you did, or you didn't breach my trust. I can't believe that you're acting like that I don't know you talked about me behind my back. And if you're not aware that I may be aware of what you did, and you're not coming to me and saying, I did something that I shouldn't have done, and I want to apologize, you might not know I did this or whatever, then that means that you're trying to sneak in that back door again to do what you did before. And then the cycle starts all over again. And this is why we find ourselves in certain types of friendships that when it comes down to it, we go, oh, goodness, how did I end up hanging out with that person? Because when those red flags went up, you didn't pay attention to it. When they did it the first time, you got upset about it. You were upset, but you let them in again. You should not have to do that. People should not have to do that, and do not let anybody convince you to go against your own personal interests. You are allowed to protect your personal interests. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are allowed to protect your emotional stability. These are things that are owed to you as an individual. And so that's one way we can move on. Now, I cannot tell anyone what would cause them to get on the road and keep it moving with certain things, because with certain people, or what actions may cause them to want to move on. The only thing that I can do is offer a suggestion to how to move on. And I gave my own experience as far as what would make me move on. Now, if you feel you need to move on for other reasons other than that, that is an individual thing. But in order to move on, you have to resolve in your heart and mind that that is what you're going to do. And don't even be wishy-washy with yourself. And I'm not saying be rude to anybody or cuss them out, call them names, because I can come up with some good ones. I always say to people that if people could read my mind and what I was thinking sometimes, they wouldn't like me. They would not like me. If they could, certain types of people, that is. Because I don't think, but certain things that, certain types of people that may be a turnoff to me personally, if they could read my mind, they wouldn't even like me, you know. So, whatever it is that makes you feel like you have to protect your peace and move on, then you have to keep it moving. And do not go back, because what your goal is to protect that peace. And always remember that um always remember that you do not have to answer to anyone but God, that is, period, or any other human about why you decided to move on. I don't go around explaining myself. I can't. It takes too much energy. It's draining. And it takes away from my music time, because I love music. I love to create music. So I'm so busy creating a song or something. And I may even create a song about some of that. And that's how I turn my energy into something else. Because remember that energy really doesn't go anywhere until it's released. So if I got this energy inside of me, I have to release that energy some kind of way. So a lot of my energy is released in the music that I write or talking to a friend. And then they're able to release their energy talking to me. So we don't have to go around explaining why we decided to take a step in another direction. You don't have to do that. And if a person has done something to you that's that hurtful, and you don't feel that there's no coming back from that, not this is not about forgiving or not. I'm talking about mending the relationship, okay? And you don't feel that it's working, you can move on. And not saying you have to be rude or anything like that, but you can change the dynamics of your relationship with that person. You don't have to be as close. You don't have to do any of that. I find that oftentimes when I have tried to explain to somebody why, and this is when my younger years, because I haven't did this probably in over 20 something years. I don't explain jack because of what I'm about to say. People, first of all, don't even accept what you're trying to tell them. And they resort to whataboutism. Here we go with the whataboutism again. So a lot of times I don't even waste my breath on it. It's like, yo, I've made a resolve, I made a decision, and I have to move on. Another way we can move on is maybe forging new friendships. Now that's hard. That can be very hard sometimes. And the reason why I say that is because all the people I'm close to right now that I actually do trust, I've known them longer than 10 years. Or at least knew them a long time ago and we rekindled our relationship. These are, like, everybody in my mind, like, I can think of about a handful of people, and we're talking about women, in my head right now, that when I think about them, I've known them longer than 10 years. I can't think of not one of the 5 people in my head that I did not know longer than 10 years. Sometimes we can't pick up new people. And I told my daughter early this morning, because she named 2 girls in her life. One of them is crazy, but she still loves her. And the girls love my daughter. Okay. See, even though those flaws may be there, you can still love that person. So I told my daughter, and she's turning 31, and she and I were talking about friendships this morning, and I say, you're 30 something now, and you may find 10, 20 years from now, if this world in this present system lasts that long, that it may be narrowed down to a handful of people. You may meet friends or acquaintances on your journey through life. And sometimes it just winds up being the same people that's there. So now, at the age that I am now, I can't think of nobody that I'm close with that I didn't know before I turned 50. Like everybody in my head right now that's swimming around, I knew them. And these are not just acquaintances. These are people that may know my deepest, darkest. These are people that may know some stuff that happened to me when I was back in my early 20s. Okay. So I told my child, sometimes it it narrows down to just a handful or less people. You look up and those people are still there. And all the acquaintances you met on your journey have fallen off. You dropped them off. Because I'm gonna tell y'all, there's some people along on my journey that's jumped in my ride, and we riding along, and they do some dumb stuff, and I pull over, and I'm like, get out. What do you mean, get out? Get out. Get out. Get out. Or I'm coming around there, and I'm opening the door, and I'm pulling you out. Why I gotta get out? Because you get out. Well, where am I gonna go? There's a dumpster right there. Oh, I'm not being funny. I mean, I'm just making a joke out of it, and I'm making comedy out of it. But yeah, pull up next to a dumpster. Here's your stop. Oh, so you're just going to throw me away? Mm-hmm. Because you cannot continue to allow them to do what they doing, and especially if you call them on it and they don't stop. So sometimes you have to move on with brute force. Quit cold turkey. But to wean yourself off of that person may be more of a mental stress or an emotional stress than you want it to be. So you have to resolve, execute, and don't look back. Don't look through that rearview mirror. Keep it moving, change the scenery, and be somewhere else by the time you look up. So you may form new friendships, but you'll find as you go through life that new friendships don't happen. Not really. Especially the older you get. Now, I'm beyond my 50s now. And I'm finding that brand new friendships just ain't working. They're not. But the people that were on your journey at least a decade or more ago are the ones that understand you. And you have to go ahead and accept it and settle. You do not need a whole lot of people around you to feel validated, because you already know I'm not a crowd person. I'm not a person that's with nobody's crowd or gang or clique anyway. And all the women that I know are lone wolves like me, but we come together. I may go out with so and so today and out with so and so tomorrow or whatever, and maybe they could meet each other through me. That's cool too. But we all know who we are. I know who they are. They know who I am. So sometimes we need to resolve in our mind and hearts that you're just not going to pick up any new people. But if you do, and they turn out to be genuine, that is a blessing. Always remember, that is a blessing. So I've met people during my 50s that I'm no longer friends with at 60 because it just doesn't work. Now, is there something wrong with me? Could be. Am I being too strict? I could be, but I am very, very tight on security. Oh, yeah, those alarms are set. Those windows are shut. Those doors are locked. And when an alarm go off and I see there's a breach, I fix it. Oh, gotta fix that. Oh yeah, that window over there broken. Let me go ahead on and fix that. And this is what I do. And did I think that me and some of the people that I might have met during my 50s would be cool? Yeah, I never get into any kind of friendship or relationship negative. Yeah, the hope is always that we'll grow together at some point. But I'm not really disappointed when it doesn't go there. I just move on. But I do have, like I said, about a handful of people that will probably always be friends because we've made it over 10 years. I've had ups and one chick I've had ups and downs with, and ups and downs with, and ups and downs, and it felt like a seesaw. It felt like a roller coaster. But there is nothing she's ever done to get me to the point where I have to change the scenery. And I even told her that. And she admits her flaws. And it's like, stop being so hard on yourself, because you harder on yourself than I think anybody is hard on. Like, and I told her, you have never done anything to make me just run and never turn back. Even time periods when her and I may not have even talked, I still thought about her. Because there's one thing that I believe, and that is she has a good heart. And she always means well. But she's an annoying little sister at times. And that's okay. And I always say, you'll get there. You'll get there. Because, I got at least a decade over her. You'll get there. And I've seen her grow. I knew her in her 30s. She's almost through her 40s now. And I used to always say, oh, she'll get there. She'll get there. So this is the part where you're ignoring and putting things aside and not worrying about it. And I can't even tell you what she's done. I can't even tell you what happened when she and I may have stopped speaking for a minute. I can't tell you what happened. I don't care. I do not care. It's not important. It's not material. It's not any of those things. The only thing I know is that I know she loves me. And I love her. And I know she cares. And she's been there for me. Another thing that can cause me to move on, but maybe not as bad as if someone were to betray me, is judgmental people. That grinds my gears. And I'll let you know if you're judgmental, because that is the one thing that will grind my gears, and I'll be likely to tell you about it. Because when somebody's judgmental, it feels like that you may be walking around eggshells around that person. And you're sitting there going, wow, you just going to judge me about anything? You're just watching me to see what I'm going to do. Oh, you're stalking my social media and all that kind of stuff. When you are judgmental, I may have to move on. Now, I won't disclose anything to you as if, like I wouldn't a person that's betrayed me. But you may get more conversation out of me than a person who has betrayed me. However, those alarms are still set. Those doors are still locked. So I may open the window and talk to you. But I may not see you as a person who is likely to betray me or who has betrayed me. I may not see you exactly as that. And I'm not saying all this stuff to say I'm perfect, because I'm not. What I am saying is I'm just imparting my viewpoints, to those who may be thinking about stuff like this. Well, how do I move on? How do I deal with this? How do I deal with that? You have to resolve, execute, and stay with it. Stand on business. That's it. There are billions of people on this planet. You are not going to fall off because one person decided to act a certain way that may have hurt you. And I'm not aiming to be negative or anything like that. But these are things that we just deal with every day. It's reality. So that's what we can do. And if you are a person that resorts to whataboutism, the first thing you might want to do is ask yourself, why do I do this? Why every time somebody says something to me, I say, well, what about what you did? Or what about what your mama did? Or whatever. Think about why you're doing that. Are you trying to escape accountability? Do you not want to face what's been presented to you as far as the individual, whether or not you should change? We can't grow when we resort to whataboutism, because how do we change? We're so focused on what that person did a long time ago, and they probably did it 15 years ago, and you're just now bringing it up because that's the only pole you have to hang on to keep you from falling into that river of accountability. Okay, you hold on to that one branch. Oh, I can't. No, that water down there, I can't fall into it because I'm going to have to swim and be accountable. No, you face that water, jump in it, and let them tell you how they feel. I get told how people give me their true feelings and their true opinions of me all the time. Those are the ones that I know care. So I go on and jump in that water. All right, what you got to say? Well, when you do this, I don't really like this or whatever. Okay, cool. Got you, sis. We good. Oh, got you, brother. My brothers hold me accountable too. Oh, yeah. Let's not forget about the four shy of a dozen, the 4 plus 4, and the half a dozen plus 2. I'm talking about my 8 brothers. Okay. They hold me accountable too. I remember I fell out with a friend of mine. And my brother said, well, I know how you can be sometimes, sis. You hard, you tough, you this, you that. And I'm like, are you taking her side? Well, I'm not taking her side. I'm just saying you might want to think about how you handling this. Y'all been friends for a long time. You can't just cut her off. It's like, Negro, please. I know you did not just sit here. I'm your only sister. I've gone through that with him a couple of times. But I know he cares. So I didn't sit there and say, well, what about so-and-so? That dude named John used to hang around with. You cut him off. No, because this ain't about him and John's problem at the moment. This is about me and my girlfriend's problems now. So there we go. So I'm going to go and get on out of here because I think that that's all I had to say about whataboutism. Okay, so y'all be cool. And this is Ran signing off. And have a good one. Bye-bye.